Welcome back to another episode of Mental Health Monday. Here with my boy Stanley. What up, baby? What's good? What's good? How's good, man? What's good? Personal camera gang. Yay! Banger.
Damn.
Oh man, we're here with another episode, man. We're talking about you read the title, ADHD and Assult, and that's over grapes, because you got to have a cushion between these wild things.
Yeah.
All right, so what topic do you want to start with? I'm usually just like, tell me about yourself. Tell me about life. And I'm kind of just like, hey, man, how you feeling?
Yeah. As a person with severe ADHD, if you ask questions, I will answer them because I will be all over the place.
What makes a person's case a severe ADHD? How's that defined exactly?
Personality, I guess.
Yeah. Tell me more.
Again, like I'm not like a doctor, but for me, they knew that I had severe ADHD because I could not handle life well as a kid or as an adult.
Okay. Would you like some grapes? Re-up on the grapes. Also some celery too. There you go. Those are some healthy grapes. Wow, we really saved the best for later. Good job, us.
Yeah. So nice.
My partner got this container. It was such a great purchase. But yeah, define being an adult with severe ADHD.
Remembering to pay your basic bills on time. That part.
Yeah.
Remembering to, hey, you have to actually get up out of this bed.
Yeah.
And then think about all the
Does ADHD keep you in bed?
Because you think about all the things you want to do. And have all your plans that are running through them all in your head that you...
Analysis paralysis?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Heavy.
How do you overcome analysis paralysis?
Aggression towards yourself.
Okay.
Force yourself like, hey man, just get up. You know, like literally I have rolled and fallen on the floor out of bed.
And you're like, well, we got here.
Right.
Okay.
Stand up.
So are there pros and what are the cons of severe ADHD?
Pros, like I said about driving, I'm aware of all things. Every little motion and movement it's distracting me, but it's everything that's happening. So I don't need to worry too much about that. So I'm a very good driver.
Yeah. I think Spider-Man would have been a very good driver if he had severe ADHD.
Sure. It was giving, Spider Sense does kind of give ADHD a little bit, honestly, because it's a sense about things.
But I have the awesome reflexes though.
That's the part. Yeah. So if you have ADHD, you should do martial arts. Like, get your reflexes up. Great combination.
Has that been beneficial for you?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I've been on and off martial arts since I was like 8 years old. I did Kuksawan at first.
Was that coping wise for you, or just to get your energy out?
Great outlet. My third grade teacher was the one who was like, hey, and my third grade teacher and my grandmother were both like, hey, this would be good for you.
Shout out to them. Do you remember your third grade teacher's name?
Miss Arce.
Her name was Miss Murillo.
Yeah. Shout out to Miss Arce.
So how do you manage ADHD in your private life?
The most important thing is not being too hard on yourself when you fail certain things.
So does that mean you have to have
Qualify that
self-worth talks?
for sure. Like, yeah, I did
an example.
So you have your, hey, I didn't make my list today, but that's okay. I'll make it tomorrow, or you did other things today. Even if you did one thing, like you bathed today, fantastic.
Major. Yeah.
And you made it to work on time. Because being on time is that's like when I was late today.
As someone with ADHD, are you allowed to let your employers know, hey, I have an ADHD, because sometimes getting away with me coming in on time?
I do.
How do they manage that as an adult? Whatever you've seen.
It really depends on the person.
Yeah.
I've gotten comfortable with just saying it all the time. And if people are going to be weird about it, that's on them. And I just have to move accordingly. And I probably won't have that job for that long.
Yeah.
And
you just accepted it for what it is. Like, hey, if it doesn't work, that's fine. I still got this thing regardless.
Right. And luckily, ADHD does not stop you from doing your job. You're usually very good at your job, whatever you're doing. because you're hyper-focused.
When you're able to get the focus. Yeah.
So hyper-focus is interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
When you're enjoying something or doing something, you will do it exponentially.
Do folks with ADHD with jobs just enjoy the thing that's in front of them?
Depending on the job.
Okay.
Or if it's a lot of times when it's a new job, you know, oh, I'm excited for this, so we're going to get it. And they have very good work ethic. They do their job, and they're usually the best person at their job. A lot of times, like, oh man, you're doing better than everyone else, and you're just in here.
Yeah.
And then over time, you're like, man, I'm tired of this. It's like, okay, I need to find a new job.
Would you say folks with ADHD may burn out faster than others just because of the hyper focus? So, have you ever had to manage your burnout?
I have hyper focused for literally days at a time. So
That sounds terrifying.
at UDC, but I enjoyed it very much, honestly.
Okay.
When I was at the labs at UDC, I loved it. I would spend the night in the lab and just work constantly. My professor was like, hey, I really don't want you to do that.
I wonder if that's why most people spend their nights in the labs with no issue. Because you brought it up in another one of our discussions that folks with ADHD, when it came to school, they're just phenomenal.
Yeah, if it's something like geometry, I really like geometry, so I was like, we're getting it.
What makes you love geometry so much?
The same thing that makes me like engineering. Like I like, you know, shapes, and I don't know. I've always been aware of the three-dimensional aspects of things. So even though I'm looking at this, I can see that like your drawers or what have you, your shelves. I can envision what the other side looks like.
The shoe boxes and everything else, including the metal.
The metal itself, the drawers itself, like
Yeah.
or a table or a cabinet. I can look at it and visualize, oh, I can see this part of it. So hypothetically, the other side is close to it or something.
So does that mean you're vicious when it comes to like building IKEA furniture?
Yes, I'm like that guy.
For real?
That guy.
Shit, let me know.
Got you, bro. Like that's my favorite
Just
thing.
be like, hey man, we need you to pull up, bro.
I love building IKEA. I know that's
There'll be celery in the fridge.
bro. It's real bad, real bad. And I remember when I was a kid, I don't like to use instruction manuals.
Really?
Yeah.
So you just lay everything out in front of you and you're like, I got this.
Yeah, like show me a picture of it. Okay, that's that. You know, and there might be intricate things in the inside that I have to look at. It's like, okay, but if I can see it, I can build it. So especially things when it comes to computers, I like to
Dismantle, put them back together.
but as long as I can see it first, how it's together and piece by piece, I can put it back.
Would you test yourself out to see if you got it right?
Yeah, I got to turn it on. Because I remember there's one of my favorite things that I did. Just a fun memory that I have.
Yeah.
Myself,
Accepted moment.
heavy.
Yeah.
Myself and the head of the machine shop at EDC. We took the vacuum. So to take things to like vacuum atmosphere or like zero atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that we had to do working with nanotech because you have to take it to basically zero atmosphere for different things and chemical bonds to happen. So we did this. It's hard to explain pieces of it.
Yeah.
But basically we took the vacuum, the scientific device, together just from looking at it. We made our own manual by taking pictures. And we put it back together. And that was just a really fun thing that I got to do. And I enjoy that so much.
So you know how to recreate structure by reverse engineering?
Yes. And this is like couple $1,000 device. Yeah.
And you just simplified it. So what is nanotechnology on its basic form? I mean, we have like this movie version of nanotech, and you're like, all right, guys, this is what nanotech actually is.
So what we were doing at the lab at UDC, we were trying to put electrons in, this is going to sound crazy, a quantum mechanical superposition.
God, give me more details.
Yes, yeah.
Or is that all the details?
So basically electrons have an up and down. So binary, ones and zeros, that's based on the position of the electron.
Yeah.
So we were trying to stabilize it in between that, which would be quantum computing.
Okay.
That's like the basis of quantum computing. And that's what we're trying to do. Have that in a stable environment That's why we need to take things down to like 0 atmosphere, because it's hard to do in just room temperature air. You know, and this is like, if you breathe heavy on this device, it's going to break.
So does that mean, what's the ideal temp for that? Cold or hot?
Cold.
Cold?
Yeah.
Because that slows everything down, which brings it down.
Yeah. And like heat damage is the worst enemy to things like that.
Okay. How much years of knowledge do you need to be able to like even bring that concept to life?
I could be explaining it wrong. I'm no expert, honestly. Like,
But you've gotten your hands dirty.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool as fuck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a great time doing that.
Yeah.
I definitely want to get back to that.
So when it comes to ADHD, do you ever look back at any of your experiences when it comes to like your parents or adults and think, man, I really wish there was an education program for these people?
All the time.
Yeah.
But I don't blame them.
Yeah.
You know, I have to. There was a time where I was like, oh man, this is all, you should have done this better or that better. And like, man, they had all their things that they were going through. These people lived through the 50s and 60s, you know.
I say that all the time. We're going to do this in levels.
Sure.
What's 3 pieces of advice you'd give a teacher dealing with a child who has ADHD from your experience?
Don't get stressed out about what they're doing. They're not being mischievous. They're literally reacting to their environment. And they're a child. They don't understand anything else, you know. And this is their perception of their environment. Their perception is going to be very different than anyone else. Ask them questions and make them feel comfortable enough to answer those questions. Yeah.
Do you think asking them questions gets a measure for where they are and where they're not?
It gets a measure of what they can understand.
Yeah.
Or what they're perceiving and what they're doing. You know, how they're viewing it. And if it's, oh, I really can't help doing this, or I am, you know, having fun. Or this is just my base existence. This is how I get down in my brain.
But as a kid, fun is a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kids want to talk to kids like an adult. And I don't mean like aggressively or mean or curse, but just, you know, have a conversation like we're having a conversation.
Yeah.
They're with it.
And that makes all the difference. All right. What are 3 pieces of advice you'd give a parent dealing with a child who has ADHD?
Remember that this is your child. Start with love. And then educate yourselves on the things that they're doing. So, okay, my child is doing this. Are there children who are also doing this? Why are they doing this? Pay attention. Ask questions in a calm voice. So, and that's just with ADHD, with anything. Hey, Tommy, for example, what's going on? How's your day going? Oh, I did this, that, and the third. Oh, how did that make you feel? You know, why did you do this or that? And then after the conversation's done, okay, go about whatever you were doing. It shouldn't be anything that you punish off rip. It should be a conversation first.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is thought, like Tommy says he hit some kid. Why'd you hit that kid? How did that make you feel? You know, you probably shouldn't hit kids. You know, next time, do this, try this. Yeah.
So what do you think is misunderstood when it comes to being a child with ADHD? 3 things that are misunderstood.
Just because they're running around and talking, that's not them misbehaving. That's their brain at that speed.
And also the abundance of energy that's built up in their body.
You give them an outlet. Your work's not hard enough. Or you're just not stimulating enough. You need to be stimulating for a child with ADHD, because they're really going at like 1,000 miles a minute.
And they're trying to stand still. So they're technically the Flash. Yeah, you know, just Barry Allen, if he actually spoke at his actual speed,
exactly,
he would never be understood.
Have you ever talked to a child that was like speaking at a relaxed speed? It's quick. Yeah, like when I was young, I used to go.
Just period.
Yeah.
I got you. Oh, this is a good one. And let me know if you're comfortable with this or not.
Sure.
What are 3 pieces of advice you would give a parent who's dealing with a child who is grappling and dealing with suicidal ideations?
Make sure that they are comfortable to talk to you about anything. You have to be the safe space.
How do you set that standard?
It's hard. It's not easy. Because if your child sees you upset, they're going to worry about, okay, what makes them upset? And if they've told you something and you react harshly, okay, I'm not going to talk to them about that ever again. And that's the end of it.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, you'll have to rebuild that, and that's going to be much harder than it was to break. So things like that, you have to really be on top of your own emotions. It's not easy to be a parent.
Oh, no, definitely not even a question.
And it's nearly impossible to be a perfect parent.
Yeah, there's that word,
right?
That word that we know so much about,
right?
As a parent that's dealing with a child who is dealing with SI, what are 3 common mistakes that you see or have observed? Your experience may be different, so for you, you may not have seen mistakes.
Not too many personally. There was a point where I got to that point for a reason. You know, it was just, you know, my mom luckily decided to come downstairs at that time, and she handled it well. But my parents arguing all the time, and things, it was a constant fighting in the house.
I feel like your responsibility.
Absolutely. If it was, you know, because I'm not doing well in school or whatever, but a lot of that was their own relationship, and I just didn't see that.
Yeah.
You know, and I took on the burden in my head. Like, that was, everything is my fault. So if
Do you think it would have helped if they would have had these talks with you about while they're arguing instead of just
argue away from us?
Yeah.
You know,
You had other brothers and sisters? Okay. You said us. So I was like, that sounds like a big family.
yeah, there's a lot of us. Yeah. So argue in their own space. And yes, this is their house, but you're yelling aggressively, nearly like hurting each other in front of your kids. Learned behavior.
Yeah.
You know,
So you pick up on that and you regurgitate that later down your life.
especially if they're arguing about something that you did. You think, okay, so this is my fault. All this strife is my fault. So if I take myself out of the equation, it won't be a problem anymore.
Yeah.
And that was my rationale for that.
That was your go-to. Yeah. Would you say, did you have to discover these answers on your own, or was there ever someone that mentored you? Because I remember you told me you were in therapy at a young age. Was that helpful for you, or was it interesting? Because not everyone's therapy experience as a kid is positive.
It wasn't the most...
Talking about therapy back in the 90s.
Right. Yeah. It wasn't terrible, but it was basic. Like, it was tailored for anyone who was going through this, can use the tools that I was taught. But was it tailored for me personally?
Could have been better programming.
Yeah. And it really taught me, hey, I can't really talk about SI to people or else I'm going to get locked away.
Is that what they just used to do to people back in the day?
Yeah, because that was the standard. Like, oh, you're having you're having ideations. Okay, it's time for you to go to PIW for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, okay.
What's PIW defined?
Psychiatric Institute of Washington.
Oh, goddamn.
Yeah.
That's a lovely feeling.
Yeah.
But what does... I get that locking someone away prevents self-harm, but eventually they will... Well, no, not everyone gets better.
No,
That's a misconception.
I've seen that. Like, I was in there with kids who were going through way worse than I was. So I was there in 7th grade, kind of into 8th grade. So like into 7th grade, beginning of 8th grade, something like that. Yeah, there were seasons that changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I got in there, 7th grade. I was in there 7th grade towards the winter time. And then when I got out, it was like mid-spring-ish. Something like that. So if I feel like a month and some change, maybe like 2 months, something like that.
Does that set you back education-wise?
Well, they give you the work and you do the work in PIW.
So I'm still going to be in there and I got to do the work?
Yeah, you still got to do schoolwork.
There's no break. There's no nothing.
There was some time. Because like I said, I think I went in there during, and there was like a break in there. Like, it's regular school breaks when there's breaks.
Yeah. So they they give your parents or they give your homework back to the instructor grades and said, They're doing good. What does communication look like for a kid who's at a PIW? What does education for someone who's locked up in a PIW look like? Like, is there communication between the teacher and this person? How does that work exactly?
Depends on the case, for one, if the child is like able to. Because there were kids there who were
rough.
Yeah, like they weren't really functional, like high schizophrenia, like, and we're sitting on the couch together, you know. So it was a mixed
population.
Yeah.
Do you ever look back at that time and do you ever think about how things could have been better? Or do you just think about, man, I was lucky that I've made it to this point?
Once I got there, I found a way to be cool and keep myself calm. Like,
define cool. Like, you were the cool kid on the block, or you were cool, like, I'm chilling.
Right. I'm chilling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they had a chessboard, so I just played chess the whole time.
Are you a beast at chess?
Okay.
Okay.
Would you like me to play?
No, I don't play chess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I watch people.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, dang. Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, you fell for the trap. That's crazy. Yeah. Oh, oh, no. Oh, they took your rook. Oh, they took your queen. Oh, they took your bishop.
Yeah. Like, I can go comfortably like 8 moves ahead. Yeah.
What's the most amount of moves you've seen someone plan ahead?
Well, the game, you know, my dad and my godfather, they crush me. Yeah.
Sure, I don't play them in chess. Right. Well, actually, do you still play them?
Yeah, for sure.
So you like a challenge.
Yeah, like you learn from a loss.
Spit the facts. One of my philosophies when it comes to bringing folks on this show is we learn from being wrong, not from being right.
You don't, but that's facts.
Yeah, you learn from being
anyone
wrong.
I beat, what did I learn?
The most important thing you can do is be wrong. Yeah.
Because that move is not going to work twice.
Yeah. Yeah. And when they catch on, they catch on. Or they pick up on your habits, and like, are you willing to learn other strategies and why other strategies may work for particular situations?
That's the same with chess, with fighting.
Yeah. Noticing when the things have switched up, the pacing. I could do this all day.
You music kicks in? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So within your experience, tell me about a time that you're like, yeah, man, consider us. We need to change this. Did you voice it, or did your parents like take you to the side and say, hey, man, this isn't going to work?
I voiced it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because again, I was getting work done, so this was like a good thing.
Were your parents good at making a safe space for you to speak? Or did you just get fed up and you're like, nah, this has to be said regardless of how it feels?
Half and half.
Okay.
There was a point where they saw that this is not how my child behaves normally, you know, and then I said, hey, I don't like this.
Yeah.
There was a discussion where, okay, we have to do something. So what are we going to do? You know, and it was definitely like, hey, try it for a little bit longer and see what happens. But, you know, yeah. Luckily, I was able to switch to Adderall, and that was a little bit better. Still not great. You know?
But it's better than what it was serving on before.
For sure.
Yeah. So between Concerta and Adderall, you've now moved on to Adderall being not the big bad, the better version.
Yeah.
But even to this point, you sometimes get off.
Yeah, I don't take it every day at all.
What's the reason for stopping your intake of Adderall?
I mean, again, it is an amphetamine. You know, like, you might as well just do some speed and call it a day. Basically, like, the chemical bonds are off by, like, very little. Yeah. You don't have to do much.
Yeah.
To make that into that, or vice versa.
So is it more moral, or is it more just the feeling of this isn't going to work on certain days? Like,
yeah. Like, I can't do this every day. It's bad for your health.
Okay.
It feels very much. Because
how do you measure your health?
When I have to remember to eat, I know how I'm doing good.
Okay.
If I haven't been hungry in all day, and I have a very high metabolism,
something's off.
And you have a high calorie intake as is. Yeah.
like I'm constantly eating.
Do reminders help?
When I'm on medication, yeah, I have to have reminders, or else I won't eat.
So when you're on medicine, you need reminders, but when you're not on medicine, you need reminders?
No, when I'm off of medicine, I'm crushing food. But when I'm off medicine...
So does Adderall take away from your appetite?
Yes.
Okay.
Completely. It destroys it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's just terrifying, a world without food.
And it's not only does it take away your appetite, when you're eating food, it's like, oh, this is matter that I'm ingesting. And that's about the gist of it.
Do you think you're less creative and expressive on Adderall when it comes to like foods, seasoning, taste buds?
Everything.
Everything.
Life, I'm less expressive. I can only speak for myself, of course, but...
Does that affect you in relationships?
For sure. Where I have to have a sit down like, hey, I'm going to take Adderall today, and I'm introducing you to a different person, basically. You know?
And they notice the difference immediately?
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some people are cool with it. Some people are like, I don't want you to do that all the time. So,
do you think there's a balance that you can strike?
Yeah, and I feel like. I use Adderall when I really need it. Like, I'm about to get a lot of paperwork done. Onto it.
What are the 3 times you think Adderall is necessary in your use case as someone that deals with severe ADHD?
If you're trying to crush a 10-page paper and you have ADHD, I'm not giving people who don't have ADHD permission to just go ahead and do Adderall, because it's not good for you.
It's crazy.
Yeah, you're wilding. You know?
Yeah, everyone tries it one time.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Hopefully not, but yeah.
As someone who was prescribed it, it's not a fun drug. Like, it's not cool. Like, I'm not having a good time.
Yeah, that's not where you find joy.
It's not for parties.
Yeah.
Nah.
All right. Break.
Okay.
Cameron's getting hot. Cameron's like, damn it, I'm hot. I'm like, camera, your job is to be a camera. I need to upgrade my cameras, but I've already spent so much money on the cameras I have here.
Do they all get hot?
No, just the most important one.
Because it's all white?
Huh?
Is that hot?
We in the room because she works from home.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So 4 cameras set up. So this one right here is going to be your personal camera. Okay. If you ever have something to say directly to the camera, this is you right here.
And am I in the right space?
Yeah, I'm going to actually have it closed up to you. And boom, now you can see yourself.
Nice.
That's you right there. Nice.
So this interview is going to be, what are we talking about exactly?
Just your experience with ADHD, the medication side of things, how, I think when it comes to ADHD and medication and everything else, and that's also your personal camera too, if you need to say something, then it just gives you a great side profile. So this is yours. You mind if I touch you? Cool. Cool. You don't got to worry about what I just did. You're fine. I was just doing extra. When people put stuff on other people, I'm like, yo, fix their collar, man. It just makes the thing feel like, I appreciate you, man. Yeah, such a nice person.
I definitely appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Did you want anything for your celery, like dip?
I'm good.
Okay. Do you have any like particular diet restrictions or not really?
No.
Okay.
I used to. I used to be vegan, but I lost too much weight.
So what makes a vegan exactly?
So nothing produced from animals.
Just not like so milk basically is just like, nah, I can't do that because that comes from an animal.
Yeah.
Is there a belief behind being vegan, or is it more like just a health thing? Like, hey, if you're vegan, the quality of life is just a little bit better.
That depends on the person, honestly. Some people do it for belief. Some people do it for health. So,
what do you do for?
I did it for health.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did it improve your health?
I mean, a little bit, but the weight loss thing was like,
Was it a negative that you didn't see coming?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's an amount of calories that being vegan is expensive. That's the problem. Like,
I could see how that would be a thing. I could definitely see how that would be a thing. You can keep talking, listening.
Because there's a discussion about how gorillas are vegan, but they're eating pounds and pounds of vegetables a day.
found off the floor, found off of trees.
Right.
Yeah.
And the price point for that for a human being is
Drastically different because we're actually charged for every fucking thing. Okay. When you decided to be vegan, how long ago was that? Did I know you when you were vegan, or were you exploring vegan? You were vegan already?
well,
And that was before it was popular then.
yeah. Yeah.
Was it easier to be a vegan before it was popular?
Yes. Like vegetables were regular price.
Yeah.
You know, when there were all these vegan restaurants coming up.
Did it ever occur to you that, like, as things started getting more and more popular, there's a chance this is going to be annoying when it came to, like, shopping for things or finding a good deal?
Once I started shopping for things and found out, I was like, oh, I can't afford this.
Oh,
You know.
that's kind of sad.
Yeah, I can't afford that.
Yeah. Was that before you realized you were losing a drastic amount of weight?
Same time during.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd be frustrated.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I chose this lifestyle. It's a great lifestyle. And now look, everybody and their fucking mama is here.
Right. And then, like, I go to my doctor and he's like, yeah, nah, bro, you're gonna.
What would be the negative effect if you didn't gain any weight?
Just the amount of calories. You know, my calorie more is just too low. Because for me to gain weight, for me to maintain is, what is the rare average, like 2,000 calories for a person? Mine is like 3. Because my metabolism is so high. You know.
Wait, isn't it the higher metabolism, the more calories you have to consume?
Yeah, yeah.
So did you say 2,000 or 4,000?
4,000 for me to gain, 3 to be at a nice, happy.
For you to maintain?
Yeah.
How many calories are you taking in right now?
Not that much. You know.
But you technically do sports with martial arts.
Right.
With martial arts,
I
yeah.
haven't been doing it in a while. Because it's been like a couple of months since I've trained. Yeah. So like during training, I need to be like 3.
So do you train part-time or do you train for fun?
Right now I'm not training. I train for fun, but right now I'm not training because I have to do a surgery. Had a little injury.
You want to talk about that or not?
We can. I had a hernia. Well, have a hernia. No, it's not herniated disc, but a hernia.
All right, where at?
Yeah, it's like hernia. You know what like when your stomach is. Yeah.
I've people had hernias here, and I've had people had hernias like in their sternum also. So that's why I was like, where? Because I was like an area that's rough.
Yeah, it sucks.
Does that mean it gets risky for you? Not just lifting things, but like when you have to use the bathroom and other stuff like that, and you feel like an unnecessary amount of pressure.
I eat a lot of 5% milk.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, so you clearing out the system,
Right.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Yeah. So like, it's not. If I was struggling and training, then yes. But I don't. Yeah.
Okay.
My diet's relatively good.
The plan is to give you a bag of grapes when you leave. I'm just letting you know that right now. Because I was like, I drink smoothies in the morning when I wake up. Spinach, blueberry, coconut water. Sometimes I mix up the fruit, but I always keep spinach as the base. Because it's just healthy for my digestive system, period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I like knowing, hey, you have to use the bathroom because you have to use the bathroom, not because there's something stuck. Really big on that.
Yeah. Like, you should be going. People say you should be going like once a day or something, but
That's crazy. You should be like 5 times a day.
Every time you eat,
Yeah.
there should be another time.
Yeah, there should be a couple hours where it's like, oh, you gotta go. Like, but I think it also depends on the ecosystem that you work in, job-wise. For sure. If the environment is like, cool, you can use the bathroom without someone harassing you, versus you use the bathroom, and every time you use the bathroom, there's someone that complains, and then their complaints get a little bit louder every time. I can see how that would lead to people using the bathroom less.
Yeah. And definitely giving them anxiety for sure. Yeah. But sometimes you're gonna have to take that. You're gonna take your space and be like, dude, I gotta take it. Am I allowed to curse?
You can say whatever.
Okay, yeah, you gotta take I gotta take a shit, bro. Like, get out of my face. Like, bro, unless you're gonna help me wipe, then please go on.
Yeah. Or unless you're gonna catch it, because I'm at work and I sneeze, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, boo boo coming. It's like, yeah, nah, yeah.
It's your phone now.
Did you learn boundary work before you started going to therapy, or was that already something that you were aware of when it came to mindfulness of self?
Ironically, I have been going to therapy since I was a little kid.
Really? Like how old?
My parents put me in therapy when I was young. Because I would have, I don't know if this is the medical term for it, but hereditary depression.
Tell me more.
Yeah, like I was born with that. So like growing up, like why am I sad for no reason type stuff, you know? And my parents took me to a therapist and like, yeah, you have depression.
Did your family have depression also?
Yeah, everybody.
So they were aware that you had depression. So do you think? Give me a second. I'm gonna finish this celery first because I'm just got loud on the microphone. I was gonna be like, so you gonna do this important discussion while crunching in our ear? This is my first time having celery. I don't like celery. I just avoid it. Like when I go to a party and I see celery, I'm just like posers because it's like little, it's finger food. I like it. That celery is supposed to be eaten like this, not like the little things at parties. So like, as a Jamaican, my parents have always exposed me to food, and I'm a really picky eater, but I'm able to eat anything if it's like necessary. Oh, it's served, fine, whatever, sure. It's not my fave, but it's food.
I used to be a picky eater until I like became homeless for real back in the day. Before U Street, you know.
Yeah.
I like right out of high school, I was homeless for a second. And it was like, oh man, food is scarce. So that's when I was like, oh no, food is lovely. I'll eat anything. Yeah.
Have you ran into previous relationships or folks who you thought would have watched out for you that were just like, nah, you got it?
I was real secretive about it back then, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is understandable.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's a change of who you are and what you expected of yourself. And then understanding like, not everybody is gonna be the right people to handle what's going on with me.
Yeah.
Because people like to think they're handling other people's situations correctly, and then like, after you sit down and have and talk with them, like, you know, you could have done this better as a friend.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And then plus, like, I never wanted to feel like I was a burden to anyone.
Do you think being homeless is a burden to your loved ones?
No, not at all.
Okay.
But that's me personally. For me, you know.
And would you say that's a newer realization that you're actually not a burden?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But the problem isn't even the homelessness. It's my like personal like perfectionism. Like I'm a bit of a perfectionist.
Okay.
Which is not the healthiest thing. On it.
What's wrong with some perfection? I know what's wrong with it.
Yeah.
Perfection is not real. You know.
You know, it's not real.
Do you think it's not real?
In nature, it's not.
Okay. Yeah.
Part it's way impossible.
We admire things and we say, oh God, it's perfect.
The human definition of perfection.
Yeah, because we're admiring it. But then it's just like, you know, that thing doesn't really have to say it's an inanimate object. We're just admiring what's in front of us.
Like there's no actual perfect circle anywhere. But it exists. Mathematically impossible to physically have one in three-dimensional actual space.
What about looking at the Earth from
not
space?
perfect.
It's not a perfect circle.
The Earth is not a perfect circle.
There's like Mars and stuff.
Sphere. Yeah.
Do you think there's any planets that come close to it?
Sure. But only close. But only close.
Yeah. So a perfect circle would mean when you measure it, each point from point A to point B is even all around, right? I never thought of that. Why have you thought of this? What combo did you have with someone to say, yo, there's no perfect circles? That sounds like an argument that happened. It was like, you really think there's a perfect circle?
There's none. There's none.
That's
Yeah, it's just, I was an engineering major.
Yeah, never do that. What kind of engineering?
Mechanical engineering. Yeah, my specialty was nanotech. So I'm probably in those circles. We're probably in that conversation with my teacher, I'm sure.
So could you have gone into IT then? Or engineering?
Yeah.
All right, so did anything stop you, or was it just the love for...
Procrastination.
Did that come from perfectionism?
That came from ADHD.
Oh wow, this is layers.
Oh, man, I'm telling you. My God.
All right.
But I'm still working on it. Like, I haven't given up on that.
Becoming a mechanical engineer? How much further would you have to go in order to complete that?
Not too long.
How long ago did you start?
Like 2013? Well, no. I started college in 2013. So maybe 2015, 16. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was never like constantly in school.
Do you think depression, ADHD had anything to do with that? Or?
That and life, you know.
Okay.
It's just because, yeah, you have depression, ADHD, but there's a trigger to cause you to have a moment that's like, oh, I'm fucking up, you know.
Have you figured out your triggers yet, or do they change?
They change.
Okay. Because I think a lot of folks think that like triggers are like there's this thing I found and it's permanent. It's like, nah, sometimes it can evolve depending on the situation or how life itself is digested. So, all right. You were a kid who was diagnosed with depression. Does that come with a lot of responsibilities, being a kid and realizing you now have this thing that you don't really have control over? You're trying to figure out how does it work exactly?
It does, but it shouldn't.
Okay.
Because I'm a kid, you know, like a kid with depression should have like the backing of their parents. But you have to remember this was the 90s, you know. So like I was diagnosed with depression.
Misconceptions of mental health now too.
I was diagnosed with depression and ADHD around the same time. You know, I was really young.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think, would you say medicine and the way it was handled, they were not ready?
No, yeah, it was bad.
Okay.
You should
Like, well, like, what were an example of things that you were just like, you gotta be fucking kidding me?
consider it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you've come across that, right?
I mean,
Talk about it.
I've come across people talking about it, but I usually ask for their experiences because consider it has affected people differently across the board.
Absolutely.
But it's been like a heavy tie-in. Like, if you look in all my interviews, aside the last one got taken down. I'll tell you about that later. If you look through all my interviews, there's a tie-in to when Concerta is brought up. You can see it in the person's body language how terrible that was at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the Concerta ride for you? Was it a ride? Was it a nightmare? Was it a, yo, you guys, we need something better than this?
There wasn't anything better back then. Like that was the standard. It was Concerta and Ritalin, and Ritalin was like way worse. I was luckily never on Ritalin, but basically, all right, I'll just walk you through a day of Concerta. Wake up, take the medication. On the ride to school, you start to feel weird.
Well, before taking Concerta, what was Concerta meant to do? Like what?
Make you focus and finish things.
So are there any, as a kid compared to an adult, what are the signs of ADHD that you noticed?
It's hard for kids because kids are kids and you're going to run around and play and do stuff. And it's going to be hard for you to sit still because you're a child.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting still and you still can't focus and you still, every little thing is like you're here and there. And in the middle of the conversation, you're just all over the place. Some kids can have a, you know, they have an attention span of a point, you know, but really like kids with ADHD, it's goldfish attention span. Like for me, at least, it was
like a real goldfish, no joke.
Yeah, like it was just, nah.
Yeah.
Like I'm listening to you and hearing the buzzing of like the fluorescent lights and the kid in the corner who's like clicking his pen and that kid who like sneezed and everyone walking outside. Like
the Spider-Man movie when like he first realized he had his power, but obviously for you it wasn't cool like that.
It was a little cool because like now that I'm an adult, for driving it's great. Having ADHD and driving, fantastic.
Does that ever get overwhelming though if you're not used to it, or on certain days, like let's say long days that you're like, yo, this has been a lot and I'm taking in a lot of information?
I think now that I'm used to it, it's like that's just my life, you know.
Yeah.
Like being in pain and then living with a chronic pain.
Yeah.
You know, it's different from stubbing your toe. Like,
My partner deals with that, so I know about that quite intimately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you get used to it to a point. You know, like, okay, this is something that I'm going through.
Yeah.
And it starts to be in the back of your mind.
Yeah. So it's just background noise after a while. Okay. So Concerta was meant to quiet those things and bring you more focus. That's what it was meant to do or advertised as.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But ADHD it's who you are. Like my brain is wired this way, right? So when you take that away, it's not you. It's you struggle with your identity when you're on medications like that because you act completely differently. You're a different person entirely to a point. Not completely different, but you're definitely different.
Would you say it's like taking a brush away from Picasso?
Or putting a blinder on more of Picasso's eyes.
Okay.
So everything that he perceives is just a little different. And the way he's gonna paint is gonna be a little different.
So on Concerta, would you say you had to work harder to be what you felt was normal?
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. So basically it's like having tunnel vision except without the tunnel vision, but it's that feeling of like you're your body's on autopilot. You know, because I would sit still, but I would do my work and then I would just put my head down, not sleep, just be awake with my head down. And that was like, what is this? I can't really do anything else but this.
How do you feel, or how do you remember teachers treating you during those periods?
I got my work done, but they were still like concerned. Like, this is weird. You know, kids don't just sit there. You know.
But you were getting your work done earlier than everybody else. I feel like, and I could be mistaken, but it's like when I hear stories of teachers' handlement of kids who are a bit more advanced than the rest of the class, they either praise the kid or they made the kid the problem of focus. Like, those are just the only two ways I saw things when it came to those kind of kids and how they were treated. So
in high school, it got really interesting.
What do you mean?
So there was a teacher who, this was a geometry teacher, and I was really good at geometry. Like, geometry is really fun. I enjoy, as we had this conversation about circles.
Yeah.
And so, like, I would finish my work, and she would accuse me of cheating.
But you finished your work
first person
before everyone
else.
How
and
did I
her
cheat?
problem was me not showing my work, because that was the thing. You know, you have to show your work in math. But sometimes I would just like, I can visualize this in my head. This is how I see things. So I don't know what to tell you, fam. Like,
Yeah.
here's my paper.
And then also, if I finish my work faster than anyone, did your grade differentiate from everybody else? So you were like always correct?
She put me in some regardless.
She put you in summer school just because of that?
Because there was a point where we had these arguments and I did stop showing up to class because I was frustrated. Very much so.
And of course, the principal and everybody else never steps in. They're like, the teacher handles that class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't complain about it. Like, I just
You said you didn't?
No, I just went to summer school because I was fed up.
Do you think complaining would have made a difference or not really?
Maybe. Because I was the only one who had an issue with her. You know, so.
When I hear stories like that, kids aren't going to advocate for themselves. They're usually going to like figure out other ways to do stuff. But when you don't notice there's a problem with the way someone you've hired is handling a situation, and the kids who are still getting the good grades are going to summer school. But I don't really think there's a lot of follow-up in schools, honestly, unless like a situation happens. No one's coming out of their principal office to go see why this teacher in this particular class isn't doing their job. Yeah. And just like, hey, did you get the kids from point A to point B?
And attendance is great. And if you're not there to do the work at a certain point, then it's like, okay, he's just skipping school, you know, whatever.
What would you have changed about that, looking back at it?
I would have not skipped school, looking back at it, because skipping school was definitely a big thing for me at some point, because I was just... You shouldn't be faulted for doing a good job.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
You know, so clearly this is wrong, and there's nothing I can do about it, so why am I here?
For an example, that's like the people who are really good at work, and instead of like giving them rewards, they're just rewarded with more work. Yeah.
That was, man, that made group projects really hard.
Did it for you?
Because I was the only one doing the group project. I remember my, in college, my engineering project, I just did the project myself. Like, I had a group.
Like, from head to toe, you did the project yourself?
It was a year project. Maybe the first couple of months everybody was there, but then it was just like, okay, we can't agree on this, and we're going to fail, so I'm just going to do it. And we won.
No, you won. They piggybacked.
Yeah.
But no one ever knows because it doesn't matter anyway.
Right.
Like, you're not going to report them because for you, that would just make more problems.
Well, that was a situation where I did get rewarded because the teacher saw that and I got picked to work with a certain professor and it was really fun. So that was not that bad. College is a little bit easier, but it still depends on the teachers. I think in the engineering field, it's a little bit better because a lot of engineers, I feel, have ADHD or at least very neurodivergent, you know, so they can be like, okay, I've seen this before.
How would you define neurodivergent from your experience?
Oh, man, most people are neurodivergent because neurodivergent is against or not normal clinically. And I have to use a clinical definition because there isn't a normal. But there is a normal as far as medical paperwork. sees it. So do I have a, it's vague. It's hard for me to define neurodivergence. It's just not clinically defined normal. So anyone with like mild depression, schizophrenia, ADHD, mood swings, bipolar disorder, whatever, you know, anxiety, you're neurodivergent. Yeah.
Do you think you can grow into becoming neurodivergent versus
Trauma can cause it to be neurodivergent.
just immediately? That's how the human brain adapts. Yeah. Have you ever tried to explain that to people and they missed the point of what you were explaining?
Yes. Only people who are at a certain age, though. Older people who are really like, people who grew up back then, they still don't understand. Like, these are new concepts, you know, and us as people growing up with that, we've experienced it so we can handle it and understand it a little bit more. Or we had a friend who, you know, whatever. But people past a certain age are very like cut and dry about what is normal and what's not normal.
I think my mom's definitely an example of that. Found out she had a breakdown back in the day, and she never told me about it until like the various things in my life in 2018 hit the fan, and I was like, you know, why did you never say anything? And I realized the adults around me, they don't tell you things unless there's a reason to tell you the thing. Like, and I just realized, oh, we're all not good at sharing. So we're taught to keep things to ourselves. We'll handle it. And then we only share it after the thing has hit the fan. But you don't get the learning experience of either noticing when things are going wrong or noticing like things are not lined up like they're supposed to.
And a lot of things can be prevented by just talking about it before time.
Talking about it and understanding the people around you would like to understand you and not judge you. Because I'm not mistaken in saying there's a lot of fear in people opening up, because I think for a lot of people, the worst judgment comes from the people who know you best.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I care a lot about, I did care a lot about what my parents thought until I realized that they're people too. You know, it's, yes, I still care about what people think, but it's definitely to a point. I've learned and gone through enough things to be like, okay, at the end of the day, they're not waking me up in the morning and paying my bills. You know, that's just me.
Yeah.
So I can, you know, understand how people see things, but it doesn't have to destroy me as a person.
And also you understanding how people see things as their perspective. You're just getting a peek of their angle that they're looking from.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you have to think about what their lens is and the things that they've gone through.
And then their lens and what they've gone through, that's usually defines what their experience of you is. Like, oh, you don't work hard enough. Well, that's because they were overworked at a young age and the definition of work wasn't realistic for who they are. But since they have that work ethic, that is norm for them. And you know, that work ethic may be admirable from a position of they work so hard, but it's not admirable when you realize that they've endorsed burning out and they think that's supposed to just be a part of their process when it doesn't have to be.
And seeing that they're clearly unhappy.
Yeah.
You know, like you worked this hard and you have these things, but you're depressed like more than anyone else I know.
Yeah.
You're the most sad.
Yeah.
So,
but also the most dependable. So what does that say?
The most successful, dependable.
Yeah.
Can be
interchangeable.
Right.
Yeah. So when you view Concerta from middle school to high school to college, what would you say the difference was in how your experience was with the medication?
I stopped Concerta in middle school.
Okay.
And I switched
on yourself or
parents to Adderall.
Okay.
Yeah. Adderall was much better. Still weird as a child, but as an adult, it's a little bit easier to do with Adderall because one, I realized, hey, I don't have to do this every day. I can take it when I really need to get something done.
What would you say was the key difference between Concerta and Adderall?
I still had like shreds of my humanity with Adderall. Concerta, I was a zombie. And I think that's the term that people like to use because that's exactly what it feels like. You're trapped in your body and you're really going through the motions of living.
would you say an example of that is it kind of dampens the feel of things
Yeah.
by a lot?
Even eating.
Yeah.
Yeah, like food is, you taste food, but you don't, the emotions that come with eating food are not really there. Mm-hmm. You know?
I think it definitely, this might be a leap, but I can see how people would have SI on Concerta.
SI.
Suicidal ideation.
Oh, yeah. Heavy.
Yeah.
Heavy. Absolutely. I did,
like,
for sure.
Because you realize, so.
Interesting. During that time is when I was put in a DIW when I was young.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And that was around that same time when I was taking medication. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's definitely a correlation there.
Did you realize what that feeling was as a child when it came to having SI? Or did you just feel something was off and something is missing? Did it ever feel dangerous to you? Or did it feel like this is just a part of what it was?
I had a full-blown episode. Like I was going to do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I had the knife in my hand. My mom caught me.
Like what age?
This is 7th grade.
Damn.
Yeah.
And I mean, did she, I try not to judge adults at that moment.
She was
who you are in the moment.
She handled it very well in that moment.
Okay.
Because like the knife.
Tell me more.
She was very calm.
Uh-huh.
She didn't scream or yell. She was like, "Hey, what's going on?" Very calm voice. Like it was very comforting for me in that moment. Like she did a great job.
Yeah.
Because like I was right here with.
Yeah. And that's the same thing my friend said in the interview too. And I didn't know if he said that looking back at it, there's moments when he was a child in pictures where he can look at those pictures and tell he was at that place. Mm-hmm. And now as an adult, you know, he's much better off and he's glad that he doesn't have to go back there. But I wonder how many kids go through this in silence and how many adults aren't the calm mother who talks and concern of the child. Because like, unfortunately, when stuff like that happens, a lot of adults make it about them. They make it about everybody else and how it's presented. And not a lot of them make it about, are you okay? If you're not, it's okay, but like, I'm here for you. It doesn't have to be where you are right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like to think about that because I'm sure there's a lot of kids who did not have a good time and that ended poorly for them. And
Well, I'm glad you made it.
Yeah, thanks.
No, of course. You know, I've had, I think within the last 2 years, I've had an uptick of people who've reached out to me that were like there or close to it. And I kind of had to change my approach. I understand someone who has that mentality because I've had it myself. And I think that doesn't go away. You feel what I'm saying? Like it's figuring out different ways to either give yourself a set value and a goal to meet it, or at least understand that you don't have to have a finish line, but are you taking the correct steps to show proof of progress for yourself? Because like, I believe like, hey, I'm huge on quitting. Like I root for a quitter. Oh, you want to quit? That's what I'm talking about. like, oh, you look, oh, this is the greatest quitter I've ever seen. Because it's like, there's this, you have to accomplish, you have to be the best, you have to do all these things, but not a lot of people talk about the other side of, hey, when you quit, you kind of discover and reassess where you may have been pushing a little bit too hard. You kind of reorganize your thoughts and yourself and realize, oh, I could have gotten there faster if I just did this and this. You sometimes realize you don't need to be hard on yourself, but you've kind of inherited the things you said years ago, and it's really hard to readjust who you don't have to be right now. Now, no one takes people over to the corner and says anything unless like they really care or they're just fed up with your shit and it's like, hey man, we need to talk. And I think that's okay when people are fed up. with your stuff, because that's proof that they care. But, you know, proof that they care versus, all right, you on your own, you got this, and I'll see you later. Right. It's like,
Like, well, damn.
And then having a therapist as a kid and now as an adult, does it ever feel like being in therapy, you kind of have to pick and choose what you would like to talk about today?
When I was a kid, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, because I never stopped having suicidal ideation. You know, can we say that on?
It's fine. My thing isn't big enough to be monetized right now, and whether it was or not, we're here to have the real conversations. You're not going to get paid to have the real conversations unless there's a community of people who say, hey, you're doing it right.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to wait until there's a community and just do it the correct way.
Sure.
I usually say SI. Explain what suicidal ideation is.
And I heard SI. I don't know why I didn't.
I didn't know what SI was until I had an interview with my guy named Peter. That's actually coming out in September. Actually, there's a good chance I could put this out in September also, because I'm dedicating the month of September to suicidal ideation and people's stories. And let me know if it's too much.
No, I'm just thinking about, because it's just like it never goes away. Like every day I'm like, hey, you know, there's that bridge over there that you like, because I picked out a bridge for myself. And this is the bridge that if I was going to do it, that's the one. And every day I think about it.
Yeah.
I realize there's a scientific term for, you ever heard of the call of the void?
No. Tell me about that.
So you ever stood on a ledge and be like, man, I wonder what it would be like if you jumped?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Often.
That's the call of the void.
Yeah.
And my way of, something that helped me deal with my own SI was realizing that the call of the void happens to everyone. Mine might just be a little bit more sometimes.
Yeah.
And that was my way of rationalizing and dealing with it.
I think I have a very huge will to live, whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
That's like the best way to explain it. Like, a knife, that's going to be too painful.
Reason why I picked the bridge.
Oh, a robe? No, I don't want to. That's too messy. Very bound and stuff like that.
Like,
oh, a bridge. You're built really strong, so there's a good chance that it won't just be automatic for you. There's going to be a struggle.
I've heard of that. So, yeah. So when, I don't know if you want to talk about. I don't know if we can talk about it. It's not really pertaining to me. It's something that my mom saw. So she used to work at the Roosevelt. You ever heard of the Roosevelt?
The hotel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard of. Never been.
The one in DC. It's an apartment building now. Before that, it was a home for senior citizens and people with people who were neurodivergent but couldn't function well. Yeah. So a woman decided to take her own life by jumping off of a bridge, or jumping off the top of the building, sorry.
Yeah.
And this is going to get real graphic. Her bones in her legs shot up through her torso, and she survived until the ambulance got there. Yeah.
And it's like,
Stuff like
like if you look up the probability of, hey, if you do the thing, the math on that is actually like the human body is technically built to survive. And that means that most attempts aren't going to be fluid, including medically induced attempts. I had a friend, tried, failed, thank God. For me, it's thank God, because it's like, I am a big believer of, I'm proud of your effort and what you've put in. That's where our relationship starts and stops. When people leave, except for one person is an exception. I'm always going to hate that. But when people leave, it's, did you really congratulate them and praise them for who they were willing to try to be? Because you're not always going to get it correct, right? And usually what I'm finding, what I'm seeing is people's value aren't met. Your value in the eyes of others are usually met by who they've known you as, not who you're trying to become and the effort that's going into that. So when it comes to SI, when it comes to a lot of these phone calls and people that are reaching out, I accept your struggle and your point of view, but I help you acknowledge and find the good with the bad, and then we could work our way through the forest. There's supposed to be sharp rocks, but between the sharp rocks, there's usually blades of grass, if you really pay attention to what's going on. There's supposed to be a lot of gloom and doom, but eventually there is a daytime, whether it's like overcast with clouds or a little bit of sunlight, but you did technically get sun. So what does it look like when you re-engineer that? I think a lot of folks who I'm talking to, they've had, we all have had a very unrealistic expectation of life.
Yeah.
And what we thought it was going to be. And now that my expectation is more adjusted, that doesn't make me less angry. That makes me angrier. But I just figure out, how would I like to pour my anger into the right things? Mm. So that's technically what this is. Like, instead of destroying things, figuring out how to screw people over who did things to me or loved ones, or figuring out what's the big payback. Sometimes the big payback is, did you create space for people to not become who you are now in order for them to have a chance at the life they thought they can have? So like what I'm finding is a lot of people, they're getting to the life they've always thought for themselves, but it happened from pushing through how bad things were. And it's not to change the bad thing. The bad thing doesn't just go away, but it is to acknowledge, like, you're lucky to have the right people around you, but you've worked to be there. And hopefully they understand your value and who you are, even if you're not doing anything. Sometimes your value really is showing up. Sometimes your value really is saying, all right, I may not like you here, but at least this person likes me while I'm here. Sometimes there's value in, I really hate these people, but damn, they do a good job of making that one dish of lasagna once a month.
And I realize for me, and maybe for a few people that I've talked to, the biggest critic is yourself.
Yeah.
Really becoming
and most unfair critic.
Oh,
and most unfair critic.
For sure. Yeah. When you can find peace just alone in silence, you're winning. Mm-hmm. We are winning big time. And I'm thankful that I've been able to do that from time to time. Not always.
Yeah.
But I'm getting to that point where that's a constant, and that's so lovely. Mm-hmm. So lovely. My goal, my idol is, this is going to be a little morbid, but it's real shit. The monk that set himself on fire.
Oh, wow. That's a deep cut. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's your idol?
As far as like finding peace during a hard time.
Yeah.
Because he was completely calm and he was on fire. You know, that's the type of mental fortitude and just peace that's an extreme goal. I'm never going to set myself on fire, but
I'm not worried about that part. I think someone said this to me yesterday. I think it was either yesterday or the day before yesterday. There's a religion where the human contradiction is the goal of life is to not exist. And when the person said that to me, I said, yeah, sometimes you do have to get comfortable with the thought of not existing to understand the value of the things that are around you.
Mm-hmm. And the beauty of existing.
Yeah. And he was like, but the goal is to not exist. I said, no, the goal is to understand the experience of not existing while still being able to exist. And it's like, things might get heavy, but that is the goal.
It's like when, and to be able to exist even when things are hellacious, like when the world is on fire for you, and to be comforted and from yourself, that's
Does it ever feel guilty accepting comfort and kindness?
From other people, yeah.
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 How do you...
It did.
So it no longer does, or it does less?
It does less.
Okay.
Because I've been able to comfort myself. When I wasn't really able to do that for myself, it felt weird getting it from others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think there were 3 steps that led to this? Like, if you could put it in 3 steps, what were the 3 steps that help lift the burden of guilt from accepting love and kindness?
It took me going through hard times. So, like I said, when my mom caught me, you know, that was a moment where it was like, okay, I need other people. Because me by myself right now is not good.
Yeah.
You know, if she didn't come down the stairs, just like I wouldn't be here. And then later on in life, sitting in solitude, there was a time where I was like at the dorms by myself at UDC, and I had the whole place to myself, and really taking a moment to just be by myself for like a month solid, and really being like, okay, I'm good, I'm okay with this. At first I wasn't. At first it was a lot of like
Remembering to shower.
man,
Yeah.
like really being a human, staying on my bed for a second was a big part of that. But getting up and actually taking care of myself and exercise, like, hey, I actually care about myself to do these things.
Being human takes practice.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then sharing my experiences with others. Those are the 3 things that really helped me the most. Yeah. So the traumatic moment, the time it took to sit by myself and really like reminisce. And these are years apart.
Yeah.
And then being comfortable with talking about it. So recently I got really good with being by myself right before the pandemic hit. So the pandemic was great for me personally.
When the pandemic hit, I was afraid for everybody who wasn't me.
Yeah.
Because, like,
Yeah.
I think there's always going to be a worse moment than the worst moment you've had in life.
For sure.
There's always going to be something that one-ups what you thought was your worst moment. My worst moment today was 2018, right? And making it to 2020 when the pandemic hit, I was like, oh, you guys aren't ready to just be with yourselves. That was the most time I had by myself, 2018 to 2020. That was like, without a doubt, the most time I had alone. I was like unhingedly suicidal with the thoughts. Like, there were just ordinary things I was doing where I had to stop myself and say, hey, what are we doing right now? And like, every day was just another day to like not walk off the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The pandemic, I was really lucky. One, I was by myself for some of it, but a lot of it I had someone who I was like locked in with, who is a wonderful person.
Yeah.
And really helped get me through that, because it could have been real bleak without that person. And 2, I had already had like a mini lockdown by myself back in college, where I literally like separated myself from everyone and just stayed in the dorms.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just watched One Piece the whole time.
Oh, God, a classic. I actually got a One Piece figurine behind the painting right there. It's Luffy chilling on the lamp. I don't think you knew about it, because I don't think I shared this with you, but it was the young lady that was with me at Velvet all the time.
Man, it was a lot of things going on during the Velvet times. Like I
got you.
I remember some of it.
Right there, the photo above you.
Oh, word. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Passed away. And like, just, yeah.
During the...
before the pandemic, like 2018.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Nah, I appreciate it, man. And like, I just remember the people who betrayed her expectations, the people that let her down. That was my first time coming to grips with people living out their dreams and reaching their dreams, and their dreams betraying them. I became aware of how do you define family and friendship, and how do those people need to be there for you or not be there for you? And then I also became aware that like you really don't get to save everybody. Even if you've made promises and even if you sat down and made plans on just in case, like there's a lot of plans are never going to be good enough. The plan you come up with that you never thought you had to is usually the plan that has to work because there's no choice. Yeah. And after that, it's just been like everything you see now. Like, so from when we lost her to now, it's just been like the longest form of mourning someone by helping others instead of burning things down.
That's the best way.
Yeah. For now. It's just, the reason I say for now is like, I don't think the work that I'm doing is going to be forever, but I am very glad and appreciative of the people that I've been able to be here for and help, including myself to this point. And I've learned so much that like my experiences they're not to be traded or to be adjusted, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like I could tell you things that therapists know, things folks in the wellness community know, and I could also tell you things the people who are going through it know, because in losing that person, I had to find patience in others' experiences. And I got to plug in the pieces of, hey, there's a good chance that you probably couldn't help them and people around them couldn't help them because of the pieces. But like, you made the most out of the time you had with them. And that's what's most important. So as much as it does hurt and it doesn't change, it doesn't take away from the fact that you did the best for them, and what they gave us when they were here, that was their best. And we don't get to negotiate that.
Yeah.
That's like the best way to put it in a bow.
I like it. Yeah, that's pretty spot on.
No, I appreciate that. And like, that's why when I see people's pain and struggle, I had a homie who used to be a Velvet. One of our DJs pulled up on me last night when I was like on the clock working on some things over on 14th. And I let him know, like, right now he's admitted to me that he's now alcoholic and a whole bunch of other stuff, right?
Man, we can talk about addiction if you want to. What's a whole other thing?
Honestly, I think we should save that for like another sit down, because we definitely like, we're probably going to pause this and like do 2 more shoots, because like we're only scratching surface right now.
Oh man.
But I told him, like, am I an advocate and have I helped 220 people get into therapy? Yeah, but the most important number isn't the amount of people I've gone into therapy and the 220 from 2019 to now. The most important number is the people who reach back out to me now to have the hard conversations, or the folks who find me, and when they find me, they have to have the conversation because I've done so much work and they've seen so many clips from what we've put out on IG and full interviews on YouTube, yourself included. They felt inclined to be like, nah, I definitely would love to just talk.
Yeah.
Because I think for most people like you, there's no one to just have the conversation with, where it's like, hey, just let it be the conversation. And when I leave, you don't change your treatment of me as a person because I've opened up to you. I think people feel that you opening up to them now means they have to change their mode of operation, where sometimes it'd be better for you to open up to them. They continue the same mode of operation, and you tell them, hey, can we change this, this, and this? And it'll make things so much better. And only those things change. And like, there's always a better way to do it, but I know that because of all the experiences I've had. And like, my experience and tenure with mental health started in 2012 when her and I first started talking, because that was my first experience and discussion and understanding and first teacher of what mental health is and what it's not and how it can affect somebody. Yeah.
Wow.
All right, we're going to take a break here.
Where?
I feel like if that was a show, it would have been like, God damn, that boy spitting. Right? that boy really, why he saying like that? God, what's that? All right, so let's talk about boundaries. You can take it away. How do you define boundaries?
Oh. If boundaries are anything that makes you personally comfortable for yourself. Mm-hmm. Say, for instance, locking your door in your house with your family. Being able to just lock your door. Mm-hmm. And people being comfortable with that. And then not banging on your door when your door is locked. Mm-hmm. That's someone pushing your boundaries.
Yeah.
Simple stuff like that.
Yeah.
Being asked for a hug instead of automatically hugged.
Mm-hmm.
Boundaries.
What are we not?
Making sure that someone holds your agency as an important thing.
Define agency.
Your choice. Like, okay, did I choose to shake this person's hand? Did I choose to get this hug? Did I choose to be, to have this discussion right now?
Yeah. You see, I got to go somewhere and you want to have this important talk, but you always seem to do it when I have to go somewhere. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's peppy.
It happens so many times.
It's a real one.
Yeah. My lovely, lovely family, and I'm not being sarcastic. I love my family to death. Yeah. But man, boundaries are just not the thing. They don't understand.
Yeah. Do you think they don't understand the value of boundaries, or they've never experienced what boundaries really are?
Both. Because they haven't experienced it, they don't understand the value.
Do you think they'll ever learn, or is that not your job?
It's not my job, but I hope so.
Okay. I'm sure you've talked to them about it.
Yeah, for sure. All the time.
This question.
So my siblings and I, we talk to our parents about it all the time.
How do boundaries play into assault?
That's if someone has pushed your boundaries to the utmost. That's how that happens. Mm-hmm. When someone takes away your capability to say yes or no, mm-hmm. That's them pushing your boundaries to the extreme, and that's when they've taken advantage of that.
Yeah. Now, I remember before you pulled up, you told me about a situation where you were sexually assaulted. Is that the correct term for that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Depends on what you're, sir. Yeah.
Now, right now I got a lot of stuff going on. Not directly with me, so I'm cooling. But how do you define sexual assault, and in terms of the story itself, what are you comfortable with sharing? You have full control here. This is just a learning moment for me.
So, think of two scenarios that happened to me. Mm-hmm. Maybe three. Mm-hmm. First time, I was hanging with some friends. A friend of mine, he decides to suggest that I take perks with alcohol. Or it was a purchase. It was probably the same. I don't do those drugs. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's not a big thing.
Yeah. So he gives me that, and the combination of those will knock you out. Mm-hmm. And so that happens, and I wake up, and his hand is somewhere it should not be. That is definitely an assault. Yeah. They've taken your ability away to be able to say yes or no. Mm-hmm. There's another time. This has actually happened to me more than once.
Hold up. So, no, don't be sorry. This is your story. But they gave you something without permission that you said no to.
No. They didn't tell me what was going to happen.
Okay. So they knew what would happen, right? And then they took advantage of you being in a state that you didn't know was going to happen. Mm-hmm. After that happened, was there a talk with them of any kind, or did you just move on and you said, no, never again?
Yeah, we don't talk.
Yeah. As a person, what does that do to you?
It was out of body. So I wake up and then, I'm in this space, and then I get up and just go back to, we were in my living room when I woke up, and I get up and just run to my room and try to process, am I dreaming right now? Did this actually happen? What is this? What is going on? And it took me a second, and then I had to talk to other people to realize what exactly happened, because he had done this with other people. Yeah.
So this was the correct term is a rhetorical, repetitive behavior.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. Did anybody ever share with anybody else that he's done this before? Or did it come out once you said, hey, this happened?
I found out after I had talked to other people about it.
Do you think there needs to be a community of folks sharing folks' stories about people when things like that happen, especially when it comes to that? Because I'm always of the position of I don't want anyone else to be in that position. And then what's the price that comes with that?
Yes. I don't feel comfortable sharing that person's name,
Of course.
you know.
Yeah.
It feels that's just a lot.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like your own, you got to protect your friend group, your people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't. I'm not big on like blasting people on like social media because that can go all types of ways.
Yeah.
Because there may be people who just want to hop on the bandwagon and just be like, oh, we're attacking this person, let's get them. But when it comes to like, you got to share your experiences with the people you know, for sure. So we all got to be aware that this person's about that type of action. That's something, yeah.
As a community, what do you think our responsibility is to people that have gone through that and try to talk to others about it? Because I've heard stories of like men being taken advantage of or women being taken advantage of, but when they speak to people who should be their people or people who understand who they are, who they've been, folks just write it off.
Yeah, it's have the conversation and be able to have. So there's a time where two friends of mine, you know, one had accused the other of that, and I set them both down. And, you know, I said, hey, can we all talk about this?
Yeah.
And through discussing it, we really saw, okay, this is what happened, and that person should not have done this. And through that, we understood, okay, that's can't be doing that. You know, but sometimes you have to be able to have that conversation with those with those people sometimes, and they have to be comfortable with you having that conversation and be willing to sit down so they can really get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's not always what it seems. I can tell you another time when someone got me dangerously drunk, took me to my place and took advantage of me, and said that if I tell anyone, she would tell other people that I took advantage of her. And so that was the thing. And that was like, okay, so I'm not going to tell anyone because, of course, they're going to
believe the woman over the man because that's the culture that we're in. And
right, because men don't get assaulted. And my partner at the time had said that.
And that was your partner at the time.
That said that men don't get assaulted. Not the one that assaulted me.
No, I got that. But if you are trying to tell your partner what happened, were you ever able to tell them, or did you know? We talked about, as they said, men don't get assaulted, that there was no value in having this conversation with that person. Because I mean,
when it happened, I couldn't even, like, I had to talk to people to realize, hey, you just got assaulted. And I couldn't even, for me, it was like, this thing happened. And I remember it happened, her and I, the person that did it, and I are in bed. And I like kind of like turn over and cry a little bit, you know, and she, hey, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And, you know, we get up, I'm cool, everything is cool, because I was still kind of mildly in shock. And then I go downstairs and call my partner immediately, like, hey, this happened. And I remember, her being wildly upset with me because, oh, I cheated. That was what happened. You know? We cheated because you were intimate with this person. When it was like, I didn't really kind of want to be there, you know, just kind of something that I really did not say yes to, you know.
Would I be able to ask more questions?
Sure, you can.
What led up to that situation of you two ending up in bed? Was there alcohol? Was there drugs?
So much alcohol.
Was there...
I had to go.
Yeah.
Like, I had alcohol poisoning.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like it was real bad.
And there was no prior discussion of how things were going to go down or this person even being interested in you.
First it was, hey, I'm having a birthday party, come through. First it was going to be on a boat And then it's like, oh, it's going to be like a little small thing. Then it's going to be at a bar. And then it just turned out just me and her are there.
And you didn't want to leave your friend alone. Who was your friend at the time?
I didn't equate these were red
Their
flags.
birthday. Why would I not be there for a friend?
And this has always been the homie. Like, we play Tekken together. Like, this is the bro for real.
Yeah,
You know,
deep cut. Yeah.
There was never giving intimacy of any kind or any of that ever. And I think part of that is a little bit of ADHD, honestly.
How so?
We are focused on, or not focused on, so many things. Sometimes intentions of people get misunderstood.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did not see it coming. And I think I could have seen it coming if it was happening to someone else. But when it was me there in the moment, I was like, oh, this is just a homie. You know, there's no, she's not going to do anything weird.
Yeah.
Even though there was a time when my ex said, hey, I don't really trust her. And I was like, oh, what are you talking about? Like, this is the bro, you know?
Do you think we as men have a misconception of the people who are our friends would never do that to us because we're men? Or is it because we learn to trust the people that we've trusted? Why would they betray what we've built and use my significant other? Your opinion's valid, but that's my friend. It takes a lot of work to be my friend.
Yeah. Yeah. And if someone is playing a role well, they're doing it. You know, they haven't given you any reason not to trust them.
Yeah.
So why would you not?
I talked to my friend about that the other day, the one who came to visit me. And he was like, you know, looking at people who were alcoholics back in the day, he was like, I was always disgusted by them. And he's like, you know, I never ever admired them. We did events that were against alcoholism. And I was like, you know, what you realize as you grow up, and not everybody realizes this, is the thing you hate the most, you can definitely start becoming that thing. And you're so busy hating it, you don't realize when you've taken steps to be the person that you look down on, or that you feel you're right and they're wrong. And unfortunately, the more we think I'd never become that, the easier it is to become that thing.
Yeah.
Because you think you're busy not taking those steps, and there's different ways to skin a cat. You know, one beer here, one beer there. Then you need a beer every single time you do a function, or there's a hard conversation, pass me a beer. Then a beer or a shot of alcohol becomes associated with every single part of your life. The next thing you know, how come there's no alcohol here? What kind of event is this without alcohol?
What type of life is this without alcohol?
And the things you start to look forward to, they change. Something gets moved up as something moves down. But you get comfortable and you start to misappropriate where you're finding your joy or peace or fun.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that, because minus the guy that I know of, the people that have like really taken the time to manipulate have been alcoholics, which is interesting. So I kind of, for me nowadays, alcoholism is a bit of a red flag. And not every person who struggles with alcohol is going to do that.
Yeah.
But
It's usually internally something that's there. Like, you know how they say people are bad people, whether they have money or not, the money is just gonna intensify the thing that they naturally are or who they've chosen to be. Yeah.
Because to this day, one of my best friends, is one of my exes, struggled with alcohol. But that's the homie. Like, I'm right for her forever.
Yeah.
You know? We're not together anymore, but that's the homie forever.
And you understand their struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. And they've never tried to manipulate me in some crazy way.
Yeah.
So.
Have you, I'm sorry, let's get back to the discussion. So there was too much alcohol.
Right.
They took advantage of you and them and their birthday.
Yeah. And it was...
Does that feel like coercion at any point? Because I think that's a word that gets thrown around, and there's not a lot of understanding or context behind what that is and what that looks like and when it's actually happening.
Yeah.
And people like to move the goalpost on that.
Yeah. And coercion is a very touchy thing.
Okay, tell me how so.
Because I'm sure that even I have possibly like coerced person to do things, not
because we do what we're taught. or what we've seen.
Yeah.
And it works.
And we don't know what it is sometimes.
Yeah.
We don't know that we're doing it.
You don't realize.
So when
the line.
that conversation with you, like,
Yeah.
oh, this is making me uncomfortable. And then that's when you make the choice to be like, okay, no, I'm not going to do this anymore because I don't want to make you uncomfortable. You know, but if you don't have that discussion, or if you make a space for that person where they don't have the ability to have that discussion,
Yeah.
that's when it's like, okay, you're taking agency, you know? So we, you know, at first I thought it was a boat party, then it was a regular party, then it was all her friends at a bar. And then when I get there, it's just her and I. And thinking back, there's millions of red flags.
Yeah, but friendship doesn't come with red flags.
Right.
You never see that.
Never.
You would just think your friend is just having a bad day. Let me be the best friend I can be for them.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then we get to the bar and she's going, oh yeah, let me buy you drinks. I'm like, you buy me drinks on your birthday? Let's go. Let me buy it.
Yeah.
But she's like, nah, I got it. And she's giving me the street I've never had called a blue motorcycle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've had that one before. That's basically a Long Island, just with the color blue in it.
Basically. But
Yeah.
I lost count at 4. Yeah.
How much did you weigh at that time, if you took a guess?
140, 145 minutes.
You soaking wet, that's crazy. Yeah.
With clothes on.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was small.
Yeah.
And I remember her basically carrying me out of the bar. And I remember us getting to, well, like there's a blank from the bar to my place, like we're there. And, you know, things start to happen and I'm like, I can't really react to anything. I'm just kind of like here. And it starts to get a little tunnel vision, or not tunnel vision, but out of body. And I'm just kind of going for it. And it's okay, this is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's a point where I'm like, okay, I'm in a intimate encounter with a woman, so I need to do my best. That was a weird part. Where it's like, oh, because I'm a man that I need to perform.
Because pride now comes into what's going on.
Even though I could barely stand.
And also, you're technically, you're not aware of this, but you're betraying your values as someone's taking advantage of you. Yeah, because when
I had a partner at the time.
Yeah. And when everything becomes a whirlpool and you get out of that whirlpool and you finally get above water, you're like, I need to make the call. And when you make the call, you're hit with betrayal. Like,
And in a way, it's like, yeah, did I?
Are they going to be upset? And is it understandable? Yes. But you're making what's happening to me about you right now. And you're technically the only person I can trust with what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I've also been threatened. That's scary.
For sure. I learned a lot that day. Like, I learned a whole lot. I feel it's hard for me to go on dates with people and stuff, just to be around people by myself. I very much watch how much I drink, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm very cautious now. You know, friends, anyone.
Yeah.
You know, people buy me drinks.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I'm cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that do to you as a person internally? Because, like, I think people view victims in that situation, or people that come out of that situation.
I don't like to use that word for myself, honestly.
What word do you use?
I don't. I got taken advantage of, for sure.
As someone who got taken advantage of, they'll be okay eventually, and it's not that simple.
That happened in like early 20-teens.
Yeah.
Maybe like 2015.
As a man. Because, like, we're viewed as men before we're viewed as people. And most people say, well, that's your fault because patriarchy. But it's like, even with that being said, as a man, if I'm trying to just view myself as a person, whoever I tell is going to hit me with the, but you're a man. But you reacted to it. And it's like, that's a physical reaction.
Right.
And I was super drunk and out of my mind.
Like, I felt
Yeah.
it was like to have your body betray you.
Yeah.
It's like, that's how I felt.
Your body and then your pride. How do you measure your friends after that?
I thought so.
Has that changed relationships for you since then?
I'm real lucky that like the people that I was close to at the time were like, nah, that's not cool.
Yeah.
That should not have happened.
Whatever happened to the person?
We stopped talking to them. You know, I saw them in school from time to time afterwards, but we didn't, you know, it was always like,
yeah,
like, nah,
yeah,
we're not going to talk. And my partner and I broke up after that, you know, of course.
I think was it hard for you to trust in that person after that?
Who?
Your partner.
Oh yeah, that was it. Like that was the end of it. You know, we're breaking up.
Was there ever any talks between both of you about that? Or was it just you cheated on me and that's it?
There were talks about it afterwards, but it was still like very raw for the both of us.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm sorry you went through that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know there's nothing. I know there's nothing that I could do about that, but it's like there's so much going against you in that situation where you weren't wrong. Except for maybe two parts that you may feel wrong, but like I was told a story recently, and I don't take positions, I just listen to understand. Someone had assaulted someone, and the story I was told by the person was, I inquired, we went out, came back to my spot. We weren't that close, but we've always had a thing here and there. And I inquired on if they were in a open relationship. I inquired on if they were in a relationship. We were both drunk and we ended up hooking up that night. And then 24 hours later, I was accused of betraying the trust of the ex, who was that person's ex, and also betraying that person's trust. And it was deemed sexual assault. But when you look at the optics, I don't know if that's correct or not. And it's not that I don't believe the victim. It's what is the gray area of you didn't see the flags of someone inquiring about your relationship in two different times and going back to this person's spot that wouldn't usually be a thing for you. And how much of the decision making starts and stops with you. And for the person who did it, what more could they have done on the inquiring side? And then it's like, you know, hey, did you ask, how would you feel about having sex? And it sounds awkward, but it's like, no, you should inquire with people about that. Like, are they okay with that? Now, I don't know how things are playing out or anything else like that, but, you know, I think about the gray areas of people hooking up with people, people being attracted to people, and people not asking questions or asking questions, and what is deemed assault and how much of it is a gray area of what we've learned and we've assumed other people are gonna just learn from being around. Because I don't think we're learning the proper things, and I don't think we're handing down the proper information with each other on what's right and what's wrong. We're very black and white. This is assault and that's it. And it's like, no, there's different levels of assault.
And a big part is how people handle inebriation.
Yeah.
Because you can be talking to someone who is very drunk. And they can be having a normal conversation with you.
Yeah.
And they won't remember any of it.
Because they hold themselves together well. And this is an assumption of us on the outside, but like, I hear your story and it makes it sad because, not to put you in a juxtaposition, but as a man, when people hear your story,
it's like, oh, dude,
they're going to compare you to women and say, what do you think women go through? And that is a valid discussion.
Absolutely.
But right now, this man is telling you about how he was assaulted by both men and women. And even though his friend said that's not cool, the person still float around doing whatever in life, right? Not everybody wants justice. Some people just want understanding. Some people just want conversation of what led to that and made you think everything would be okay after that.
Yeah. And I don't want it. Then I wish the best for everyone involved in that party.
Yeah. You have a big heart.
Thank you.
Because that's what the past does to you, though. Because you did have a relationship with that person.
That was the homie.
Yeah,
sure.
And I wonder, I'll probably be the one to facilitate the conversation, but I really wonder how much as a community will we learn after I facilitate and I have the hard conversations and we have the definitions of what is assault, what isn't assault, and how are things handled. Because, like, I'm a big believer of, if you have changed behavior, which is you've changed your ways, you understand where you were wrong, you're making the steps, that's very different from the repeat offender, like old boy from the first story.
Right. Repeat offender, nah, bro. But someone who is in a bad place and going through something, because that's exactly what was happening to her. And she took it upon herself to use me as an outlet.
Yeah.
Not cool.
No.
You know, you can't do stuff at other people's expense.
No.
But I see how it happened.
Yeah.
You know, and I see how I could have, one, listened to my partner. Two, or maybe just like be aware. Just be more aware.
Do you think your partner felt more betrayed about you not listening the first time and less betrayed about the act of what happened that night?
I would not listen the first time. Probably not listening the first time. You know, because she definitely told me so.
Yeah, but
it was something that was so beyond my comprehension.
Whether most people learn their lessons from the stuff happening, not from people warning them.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's not an excuse, but like, I've been blessed with some good partners here and there. And most of the things that they warned me about, they were right about, but it's very hard to look past the past that you have with other people and the great things that they've done for you. And I think, I could be wrong, but a lot of us are not willing to give up the blessings that we've had before they become curses. And, you know, that's not a devaluation of your character. It's just unfortunate that it came at the expense of losing a good person in yourself.
Yeah.
And they probably lost themselves. I can't speak for them, and I'm not going to speak for them.
For sure.
So, when it comes to folks of assault, what are 3 pieces of advice you'd give?
Go to therapy. Absolutely, because it took therapy for me to understand what had actually happened. Be aware that a lot of people are not going to see it that way.
Yeah.
You know, like even to this day, I've talked to people about, like, my most recent ex, who you don't use dating apps. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Because, man, nah. She saw that as, oh, that's a red flag because you know, men don't, you know, it was more of that men don't get assaulted type of rhetoric. And I was like, all right, this is wild.
I just pressed eject on that.
Yeah, that's what I did. Like, I was like, all right, nah, we're done.
We shouldn't be together.
Nah, yeah. And I learned how toxic this person was. Yeah, but we don't need to get into that.
That's a story for another day.
For sure.
Yeah.
Lesson learned, though, as always.
So the first piece of advice was go to therapy. Second piece of advice was understand not everybody's going to see your point or understand what has happened to you.
And that's why you go to the therapist, because the therapist is a professional who knows these are the definitions of this. You know, your agency was taken, and that's where I learned that.
What would your third piece of advice be?
Just because someone is not a bad person doesn't mean they're not having a bad day.
Yeah.
Anyone is capable of a lot of things.
Yeah.
On their worst.
And on their best.
And understand that their worst doesn't define them.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you got to be the fall person.
Yeah.
You know.
Like, it is part of who you are.
If I would have handled that differently, we could all still been friends probably.
Yeah.
And talk about, hey, you're not going through this. Maybe you need to see someone and talk to someone because you're not going through this well.
Therapy still wasn't popular at that point either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that early 20 teens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 13, 14, 15 type vibes.
And getting a therapist wasn't easy either. You can easily been on a wait list for like 3 months.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said about you are still valuable. Your self-worth doesn't diminish, and don't feel guilty about what has been done to you as a person. Even if things are misconstrued, even if you've been betrayed, you're still valuable as who you are. And this one thing in life shouldn't define all that you'll ever be.
Yeah. And another thing, tell people.
Yeah.
I remember family members who were like, oh, you should have just, as far as me and my partner, you shouldn't have told her. You should have just not said anything to her. That was wild.
I think you probably have to tell. Look, you go ahead.
Because they were like, oh, you're going to hurt, you hurt her feelings, and that's why she broke up with you. But it's like, so basically lie. And, some people, I'm not comfortable with that. Because there are a lot of valid points of lying when it comes to like your life in danger. Like, hey, if someone's about to rob you, hey, where's this, that, and the third? Lie to that person. They're trying to take your life away.
Yeah.
What? I don't believe in sparing someone's feelings if I have to lie to them. Because it's going to come out eventually. And it was maybe it's selfish to tell the truth in that situation. But I don't see how the consequences would have been better later. Yeah.
Well, this has been another episode of Mental Health Monday. I appreciate everyone who's pulled up. You guys know what it is. I really appreciate you sharing this. I know it's not easy. I know.
I honestly did have a lot of anxiety throughout the week, but I'm really glad we did.
And I hope this comes across to the right person or a group of people, and that there's going to be more stories shared. It's not just going to be through this platform, but I think there does need to be more of a better understanding, because what I've come to understand about you is not just you, the way you've handled situations. There's this, once I get accused of sexual assault, it's always, A, I'm canceled, or B, I won't be able to get a job. And sometimes there's people who are willing to say or acknowledge there might be a middle ground, and I need to have a sit down with you and we need to talk. If that's the situation, some people need to be locked up.
Oh, for sure. Because when you know that you're harming someone and you're like, oh, yeah, my urges are too strong. Nah, that's not cool. Nah.
And not everyone deserves forgiveness in growing. Some people grow, and growth is separate from forgiveness. I've never looked at a victim or someone who's gone through something, or someone that has had something wrong happen to them, like, you should forgive them because it'll give you freedom. No, fuck them. But there's something to be said about being able to move on and understanding who you still are. And hopefully you're blessed enough to have the right people around you. And if you see you have the wrong people around you and they're not willing to learn, and they're willing to press points, and they're willing to turn your pain into open discussions that it doesn't need to be, you may need to change the environment and find something better for yourself. The hardest thing you could do is realize that the people once stood for you no longer stand. They only have a chair and they've just been watching you. It's not personal. Stuff might be going on in their life, but you don't have to be a part of their life. So I say that to say I appreciate you, bro. We're going to have a lot more talks. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're going to have a lot more talks. I know more discussions coming, but
there are more scenarios that have happened, unfortunately, too, that we could talk about.
Yeah, but you got to go to work.
Yeah.
Got to go get those boots.
So blown. So blown.
Like, subscribe, share. It's been another episode of Mental Health Monday. Peace.
Thank you, man. This was great.
Hey, you are welcome. I know that was not easy.